ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ welcome back to the next episode. In this episode we'll be covering the 25th Charitr of Sri Charitropakhyan. Guru Sahib begins his Charitr by saying Dohra Gang Jaman Pitar Basha Kaila Khar Ki Doon. So there is a near the Ganga of Jamuna, near the river of Jamuna. Pitar means within. There was a city of Kalakhar, and Doon just means between two mountains. Tehe thaan lok basa kane pratach pasu ki joon. So there was many people that lived there, but those people though pasu ki joon, they were much like animals. Yeah, so maybe referring to their intellect, maybe referring to their characteristics or their way of life. You know, they did not have much of a positive dharmic sanskar. That's what it seems like here. They did not have much of a dharm tradition to their life. Yeah, so they're more like animal type of instincts maybe. Maybe he's referring directly to the five vices. It could be taken any way, but basically Maharaj is referring to people there of not having the highest of intellect, not having the highest of intellect in terms of dharam. Bahur so mantri bachan uchare. Next, the mantris, the advisors, they say the next katha. Sunoho nirpat meaning Raja, king. Pranan te pyare. Oh, our king who's more loved than our breath. You know, we love you so much more than our breath. They're saying here, please listen to the next story. I'm going to tell you the katha of a woman living in this city of Kalakhar. Taante tumre taap mataun, which will take away your taap, your tapish or your diseases. It'll take away your anxiety. It'll take away your fikr. It'll take away your chinta. In the sense that the more education you are receiving, on these charitras, the more education you're receiving on the characteristics of a tarmi person or a tarmi person, the plays, the way they can deceive, the way they can save, all these things you're learning, is slowly taking away the top on the inside. Yeah, so top can refer to the three diseases. So, for example, we hear in Gurbani, Tine Taap Nivaran Hara Dukhanta Sukras, right? So, Tine Taap mean the three taps, and it's basically referring to physical diseases, 1, 2, mental diseases, right? And 3, diseases that you cannot have in your hands. It's not something like an accident or a fire or something like that, So these are called the 3 taps. So it could be referring to those things, or it could just be referring to anxiety or the chinta that the king has inside of him, in terms of making a decision about his son, Hanuman Singh, right? And his queen. So Rani Chhatramati. So, and then in the same way, Guruji is taking away our top, our because we're in darkness, right? And Gurbani refers to this a lot, that the mind is stuck in darkness, and the darkness of what? Of ego, right? The darkness of home, the darkness of ignorance, just not knowing, right? And so every time Guru Sahib educates us through the Gurbani, you're taking away that darkness. Okay, all right. So moving on here, Dohra kya Lakhar ke Rav ki ek huti barnar. So that there was a king there in that city of Kalakhar, and he had a wife. Yeah, he had a wife who was a queen. Raj nashta ke het tin chitma kiyo bichar. And the queen, she contemplated upon the future of the kingship that her husband has, right? She contemplated upon the future of the rule that they carry, and the reason they're going to explain in the upcoming lines. So, Chopai Prem Kaur Taki Ikrani. So the name of the queen, her name was Prem Kaur. Yeah, or Kaur, Prem Kaur, Taki Ikrani, Birdarav Lakh Kardarpani. And why was she contemplating about the kingdom? Well, because her husband, the Raja, Ra meaning Raja, has become old. Bird means old. Yeah, he has become very old. Seeing his state of becoming very old, she's getting scared in her mind, right? We can kind of conclude from this that she's probably young, right? And this is often the case when a royal person or a rich person will always marry someone that's quite younger than them, right? Ya ke tam ek sut nahi. She sees that in our house we have no children, right? In the king's house, he has no children in any of his wives, right? Eh chinta ta ke chitamahi. Is for this reason she's very chintat, she's very concerned. Yeah, so that's why she was contemplating on what can we do for this Raj, for this rule, so that it can keep progressing, right? Because without a child, the monarchy rule cannot be passed on, right? It's so the way kingship used to work is that a king passes on their rule to the next king, which will be their child usually, right? But if there's no child, then that rule will cease to exist, right? Okay, dohera putra na grihe ya ke peho birdagyo hoarai. So there's no child in their house, and the Raja is getting older and older. Keel kala ke te thak gayo sakatna sut upjai. And the keel kala meaning they have no keel literally means like to reproduce. Kala means that power so the power to reproduce. Thakageo, it's finished, right? He's exhausted, right? He's too old now. Sakatana sut upajai, he does not have the shakti to reproduce. He does not have the shakti to have a child. He's too old now. So chopai tate kache bichitra banaya. So she thinks of a Charitr. Raj tam te jan na daya. So she thinks of a Charitr in the way she thinks of a Charitr so that the rule or the power to rule does not leave the house of this current house. Yeah, so this current house does not get voided on the power to rule this city, this desh. Yeah, so she thinks of a Charitr. Put anat ko lakar pariya. She thinks that, hey, she tells her king or her husband, why don't we get someone else's son? Yeah, bring him over to our house. Someone else's child, bring them over to our house, and then basically adopt them as our child, right? And no one will know about it. Naam nipratako badan uchariya, and tell everyone that this is now the prince, right? This is the person who's going to be the rightful owner to the heir of the rule of the Raj, right? No one needs to know that we adopted this child. Everyone can know that it was from me, yeah. As in, I gave birth to this child. The wife here, Prem Kaur, she's telling her husband that we can make this story, we can make a scheme in this way where people think that we had a child but we really didn't, right? We just adopted it from someone else. So dohara garavati ekatriya huti lini niktabalai. So they agreed upon the plan. And secretly, what they started looking for bibiyan or women inside their village or city, inside this dish where they lived in, that were garbhati, that were pregnant, right? They're looking for women that are pregnant, and they found one. They found one that was pregnant. They brought her close. They brought her into the Raj Mahal to discuss what their proposition is, right? So, raniya hai raheo adan jag aise diye udai. And so they explained to her, look, we're going to take your child, right? We need your child because the Raj is, suffering. This was we can suppose that conclude that this is a very poor woman, who's going to be giving up her child. And so she's explained, look, we need you to take your child. And then eventually, once the consensus was met between this lady and the queen and the king, they spread the news that the Rani is pregnant. Prem Kaur is pregnant, and she is going to, give birth in a few months, right? Adak darab tanko deo mol putar tehlin, and they basically took a bunch of money. Darab means money, adak means a lot, and they gave her this lady that they found was pregnant. They gave her a lot of money and basically bought her child, right? Mol putar tehlin. So her child, which she's conceived of, and they basically bought that child off of her hands, yeah. yeah, with money. Sud upajyo grihe rai ke yo kehe utsav keen. Eventually, a few months pass and the child is born. They secretly bring the child into the palace and they make it look like Rani Prem Kaur is the person who's giving birth to this child. Yeah, so they make that happen and they create a utsav meaning very big celebration. There's a big celebration going on that within the Raj Mahal there is a child that has been born. Yeah, Dom Part Tardeen ko Dina Darab Apar. They called over Tardiyan, they called over singers, and they called over so many different people to celebrate this utsav, right? To celebrate this celebration. They called over so many different type of talented people and they gave him a lot of money. Yeah, Sher Singh Tanko Tareo Sabihin Naam Sudar. And what did they name the child? They named him Sher Singh. Yeah, so they named him Sher Singh. And Tanko Tariyo Sabin Naam Sudar and Chopei Kitek Dinan Raja Mar Gayo. And a few days after that, after Sher Singh was born and the celebration happened, a few days later, the Raja of this area, he died. He passed away. Rav so Sher Singh Tehepeo. And because of that, Sher Singh became the next king. No matter how young he was, he became king, right? And probably Prem Kaur was the facilitator or the person who would guide him until he comes of age, but basically he's king now. Rav Sab Log Bakhan, everyone started calling him the new king, Sher Singh, the child. Tanko Ped na Kau Jane, but no one was able to understand the secret or the Ped, or what took place, the Charitr. No one knew about the Charitr. No one knew that she actually adopted his child. It's not really theirs. Yeah? So Dohra in the last, and Dohra here, stanza here, Guruji or the advisors, they go through the moral of the story. They say here, Karam re ki gata ho te pe rank te rai. They say, look, through karam rekh. Rekh means the like lines on your hands or your forehead. What basically we describe as destiny, right? That's what you call rekh. So they're referring to destiny here. Look at the destiny of this child. He went from a rank, a poor person, to a raja. Yeah, he was meant to be born to a poor house, right? But he got, he was meant to be born at this poor house, but then he's now basically living in this rich house, and he's living in a mahal, and he's going to grow up to be a king, right? So look at destiny. They're saying here. Ravate Raja Kare Triya Chartir Banai. From a poor person, a poor person can be made into a Raja, into a king, through the Charitr of this Triya, this woman. This woman has made a child who is meant to be poor, who's meant to live a poor life, right? And she has made him into a king, right, through her Charitras. So they're showing how powerful a Charitra can be. How powerful can this very thought out scheme of a person can be. So Satsangaji, this is the end of the Charitra number 25. And it concludes our episode as well. I hope you enjoyed this Charitra as much as I did, and I look forward to seeing you in the next Charitra ji. Pul Choka Dikhima Bakshni ji. Vaheguru ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru ji ki Fateh.